Exodus just got a major showcase with over 20 minutes of new gameplay, and they also reaffirmed its early 2027 release date. It is set to release on PlayStation 5, Xbox X and S, and of course, PC. With everything revealed, we have learned a lot and seen a lot about the game. So here is everything we know, starting back to its first reveal in 2023. Everything is separated into categories, and the story summary does have mild spoilers, so it is last if you want to skip it. But for those not familiar with Exodus, here is a short summary of what the game is. Exodus is a third-person, single-player action-adventure sci-fi RPG set in the new world of Exodus. You play as either a customized female or male June. There is a morality system and a heavy focus on choices and consequences, which center around Exodus's major mechanic, time dilation. As June, you travel through the gates of heaven and are affected by time dilation. Years pass for those you leave behind because traveling through the gates jumps you to near light speed. Time passes slowly for you on Exodus missions, but differently for those you leave behind. For you, it may be days. For them, it may be months, years, decades, and even centuries. On those Exodus missions, you'll explore the Centauri cluster and discover new worlds, find celestial remnants, meet changelings and awaken animals, and come face to face with celestials, all while trying to save your home planet and people. The entire focus of the game is supposed to be defined by your choices and actions. You choose how you save your people, how to help your companions, and how to help yourself. And time dilation and time will change June's story. Drew Karpyshyn is the lead writer and narrative director on Exodus, and alongside him, consulting on the world and expanded media, are sci-fi writers Peter F. Hamilton and Adrian Tchaikovsky. Exodus isn't entirely linear, but the main narrative is. The devs have said that Exodus is closest to Knights of the Old Republic or Mass Effect 1 in its design. Outside of the main focus, there will be side quests and explorable areas, with the main hub being the city of Persepolis. The game also seems to be fairly big, with plenty of meaningful side content to explore according to the devs. The devs at Archetype also spoke about how they want Exodus to be the beginning of a larger franchise, with the possibility of more games set in the same universe. So this is a new IP, not just a new game. There are already 2 novels, 3 tabletop books, an episode of Secret Level, a tabletop campaign on YouTube, and a ton of short stories and videos up on their website. The game's world is massive, but June's story and the companions are the focus. There is romance, and your companions will be affected by your choices. For the companions, we have Tom Vargas, Elise Cheroux, Salt the Octopus, Phaedra Nath, Selaman, Emrys the Deva Celestial, Cece Orlev, who is voiced by Matthew McConaughey, Houston, an awakened wolf, and then we have some additional companions, though the difference between combat and story companion hasn't been revealed just yet. But there's also a few companions up on the website with just their silhouettes, and one of them does include this woman with her double braids. Another silhouette is most likely Cara Voss from Secret Level, and then this woman with long hair. Alongside your companions, you'll meet changelings, who are genetically engineered creatures created by Celestials. So far, we have seen Gath and Archivir the most. There's also more awakened animals like this elephant merchant. Another being you will meet are the Celestials. Once human, they evolve themselves to become something greater, and they are humanity's biggest threat. As far as June, there is a morality system, and it's called Paladin and Immortal, a very similar system to Paragon and Renegade, but it does go further into June's progression. It will also affect which abilities you can upgrade and how your powers evolve. Additionally, June has a reputation system that also shapes how you roleplay them. You can be an asshole, but you can't be evil, as June is still a hero trying to do the right thing. At the beginning of June's story, you'll choose which morality system you align with, Paladin or Immortal, but you're not locked into either. They want the systems to not punish players in binary ways, but if you do follow on one specific path all the way to its finish, there are specific rewards for it. There are also rewards that are exclusive to choosing a hybrid path in between the two. It isn't supposed to be restrictive. Through the Paladin and Immortal paths, June can also grow their influence over others. with persuasion and intimidation checks. You can sometimes bypass situations entirely with speech checks. Just like the combat, they want you to have a lot of freedom with how you mold your June. June's story will revolve around a core of companions who will be with you throughout your entire journey. And then there's also several characters that you'll develop relationships with alongside them. These relationships are complicated by time dilation, since that may separate June from the people that June loves. But these choices you make around your relationships will have the biggest impact on the story. And as far as relationships, apparently there are several choices, and they want you to be able to really play the field. They revealed that they've also worked hard to make as many of the romances available as possible. They're apparently a little spicy as well. And no, before you ask, Salt is not romanceable, but put yourself in timeout if you even thought about asking me. Of course, if you don't want to romance a companion, platonic relationships are also very important. You can also form relationships built on business or for political power. It even sounds like political arranged marriages are possible for June. For combat and gameplay, June will have skill trees, progression paths, and weapons that progress throughout June's story. So far, there have been 2 main weapons revealed for June: the Recycler and Orion's Gauntlet. Orion's Gauntlet is modifiable and upgradable. You can use it for combat and also mobility. With Livestone manipulation, you can damage your enemies, create barriers and platforms, and even use its grappling hook for traversing. You can also use it as a sort of lance and even a sword that have been shown so far. The Recycler is June's Swiss Army gun knife. It is modifiable and able to be changed and upgraded throughout the story. So far, we've seen 3 modes for the Recycler: a repeater mode for steady mid-range fire, a shredder mode for close quarters impact, and piercer mode for even longer range precision attacks. For the Gauntlet, there are combat abilities like Eruption and Lance, and the Gauntlet also has the Rail Claw for traversing and grappling. June also has a precognition ability to mark enemy locations and scan the surrounding areas. There's stealth attacks like Scramble Cloak that make June invisible, and Sonic Lure to draw enemies out. There are also stealth mechanics, cloaking, and sticky grenades. And yes, the combat is similar to Mass Effect, where you do control your companion's abilities. With them, you can synergize all your abilities and do maximum damage. The devs have talked about the combat experience being customizable and open, so you can approach situations as you want. You can prioritize stealth or go in guns blazing, or even talk your way out of a situation. As June, you will go on Exodus missions, find celestial remnants, which are advanced pieces of celestial technology, and then you will decide how to use them. You can upgrade your weapons, upgrade technology on your home planet, or upgrade something else, and then see the effects of those choices. This is one of the main core elements of Exodus. More is coming for Exodus's reveals in the near future. With an early 2027 release date, there is still quite a bit of time between now and the actual game. But according to the newest Exodus post, it says, "We're excited to share a fuller character reveal soon, so stay tuned." So apparently they will be showing female June soon. They've also said that after this major reveal that they just had, we will be seeing deep dive spotlights. It says we'll be seeing deep dive spotlights on companions and romance, the RPG hub of Persepolis, choices and consequences, role-playing mechanics, and time dilation. These will roll out in the months before launch. We know a lot about Exodus so far, especially our companions, which is why closer to release, I will be doing a deeper dive into their backstories. Quite a bit has been revealed, so that will be its own separate video. Additionally, I will also have a prequel story leading up to the events of Exodus, which is what this next part somewhat covers. We do know a lot about Exodus's story, so that's what this next portion will cover. And again, if you don't want spoilers or if you want to go in blind, I do recommend skipping this portion of the video. With that said, here is the story of Exodus and June. And everything that I'm going to cover is from things that Archetype has revealed. So whether you view it as a spoiler is totally up to you. But spoiler warning, I guess. Exodus takes place far into the future, after Earth began to die and humanity was forced to flee. They created arcs to venture out into space, in hopes of finding a new world. 16,000 light years away, they found the Centauri cluster. full of habitable systems and planets. These first humans settled, and when they were finally advanced enough, they began sending out the message of life to the other arcs that were still out there. But because every arc was different, they arrived at different times, if they arrived at all. But in that time, these first humans changed. They began experimenting on themselves, evolving and changing, until they eventually became very different. They call themselves Celestials, and there's many different types. These Celestials now dominate the cluster, having ruled it for thousands of years. But new arcs are still arriving. These humans, having just recently woken up from their journey from Earth, are arriving in a hostile world, filled with Celestials who hate the reminder of where they came from. They detest humans and refuse to let humans get their hands on celestial tech. Because of this, humanity has to fight for a place in the Centauri cluster. Born of this are travelers, humans who venture out into space on Exodus missions, in hopes of bringing back technology and remnants to advance their human civilization. One of these travelers was Orion Aslan. Orion grew his traveler dynasty until he became the ruler of Lydon, and this is where June's story begins. Orion and Ava, someone born of celestial heritage, genetically engineered June to be the solution to a major problem. Lydon was dying. A technovirus is targeting Lydon's technology, and the technology used to keep the planet habitable. No one can stop it, so Orion goes out on Exodus missions looking for something to bring back, but eventually he just doesn't come back. By this time, June had already been born, and Orion also had another child, Gideon. During Orion's absence on his Exodus missions, Gideon usurps the Lydon throne and the Aslan dynasty from his father, and drives June into hiding. We don't know a lot about June's history, except that they became a lowly scavenger, a nobody from nothing, and you have to work your way up as June questions their heritage and purpose. June will follow in Orion's footsteps, becoming a traveler in hopes of saving Lydon. But as Lydon degrades, enemy factions begin vying for power of the planet. Some human, some celestial. So June has to fight for Lydon and humanity, all while leaving Lydon behind. Each time they go on an Exodus mission, time passes and Lydon changes. The people you leave behind change, and June is forced to make some major decisions, especially with the celestial remnants that they find. What you do with these will affect the story, and June and your companions. But they'll also affect things with the military, civic structures, and the world as a whole. Do you want to use tech to make weapons against the Celestials themselves? Or expand scientific discovery for humanity? Do you help yourself or help Lydon? They tried to make these choices complicated and heavy, and these will be some of the hardest choices in June's story. These remnants can also serve as a bit of a key, helping you unlock areas you couldn't reach before, so that you can revisit planets and go to somewhere new. The companions also have opinions on what you do, as do the people of Lydon, since these remnants can drastically change their future and the future of their world. We'll also be meeting awakened animals and changelings. Awakened animals are animals that have been uplifted and now live alongside humanity in some capacity. But they were brought from Earth along the arcs, and during this time they have also evolved and changed. Changelings are creatures that have been genetically cultivated by Celestials from human DNA. They are slaves, labor forces, and more often than not are discarded by the Celestials when their work is finished. June will meet all sorts of changelings and awakened animals throughout their journey, and some will provide insight into Celestials, and some will provide insight into humanity. We'll also meet daemons, born of humans merging with silicate eggs. These daemons have a shadow that takes over their mind in exchange for their new strength and changed body. No one knows where silicate eggs came from, but they might be the one true alien thing in the Centauri cluster. How these silicates and daemons appear in-game is also majorly impacted by your choices. Alongside all of these creatures, June will also meet other travelers of the galaxy and their traveler dynasties. Travelers are adventurers and explorers with a common goal of elevating humanity in a hostile galaxy. But every dynasty varies. Individual dynasties share the same belief system and are loyal to each other, so that one traveler leaves on an Exodus mission and returns years later. That dynasty remains committed to the same mission as you. On Lydon, June has the Aslan dynasty, established by June's father, Orion Aslan. Because each dynasty is so unique and different, dynasties may be rivals or even allies and sometimes enemies. They're rogue and independent, but ultimately they all want to help humanity. Alongside these as a possible antagonist, there are also Celestials, both the Crown Dominion Celestials and the Marayama Celestials, and the Rot. The Marayama are a horrible race, feared by the other Celestials because of their evil ways. They move through the cluster harvesting living beings, feeding on their most painful and horrible memories. And sometimes they even keep those living beings alive to harvest later. Their favorite snack is newly arriving humans, and they hunt for Ark ships. The Marayama once came from humans, but their minds, their anatomy, and what they're capable of are far from anything human. Their bodies shapeshift into whatever form they need, ranging from blobs while floating within their ships to warriors ready for war. But the weirdest thing they do is merge with each other. Entire ships are made out of merged Marayama, floating through space. The Crown Dominion is another celestial dominion that takes an interest in June, and they too, like the Marayama, are very hostile. But we'll also be meeting other types of celestials as well. But so far, this is really everything that we know about the story. June's story will take place over many years, allowing June to see the consequences of their actions and decisions. And that's really supposed to be the defining point of Exodus. At its core, Exodus is about humanity. They want to convey the richness of the human experience, to convey people in a hopeful but realistic light. But they want their story to reflect the good and evil inside of us. And that's really it. If you are interested in Exodus and want to meet the world before playing the game, there is a ton of expanded media already. I recommend watching the episode of Secret Level called Odyssey. It gives a good example of how time dilation works. There's also the 2 novels, with the second one actually releasing in just a few days. I think it releases on the 16th. But just be aware that that story takes place 150 years after the events of Exodus. And it also takes place in a different location within the cluster. So it is separate. But you can learn a little bit about Lydon and a few other things as well. There's also a great introduction into the Celestials, the Changelings, and the Awakened Animals, and really just the entire universe. There's also the tabletop RPG books, with the third one releasing sometime, hopefully soon. They haven't given a release date. But the first 2 provide a good look into the game. And after having played it, I definitely recommend the tabletop books. Also, I have played Exodus, just a little portion of the game. If you would like to hear my thoughts, I do have that link below in another video. Anyways, there will be a lot of Exodus news moving forward as we get closer to release. I do kind of expect a little bit of silence as we get closer to 2027, but then again, we do have those deep dives that they are planning on doing. Maybe like one a month is kind of what I'm expecting, but I guess we'll see. Additionally, if you are interested in Exodus's lore, I will be focusing on that once we move into 2027. So make sure to subscribe if you want more. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Thank you to my channel members. Thank you all so much for your support. I will see you next time.